Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to Suburban Homesteader WY in Arizona. This is my front yard back home. Well, not right now. Right now, it's snowing there. But we're talking about apple trees today, and right back there is an apple tree. Right back there is an apple tree. And what you can't really see because there's too many plants, there's some tiny little short apple trees in there too. Now, Andale, hello, how are ya? Teresa, how are ya? Congratulations on the growth of your channel, Sandi. Wow, thank you so much. And Julie's here too. Computer is being a brat, so I'm on my phone. I can understand that sometimes. Like the background is really clear, but the camera's not very good, and so I tried to adjust it, but it wouldn't let me adjust it while I was waiting to go live, and so I'll have to work on that a little bit. And Charmaine, I mailed your package today. So I would guess probably Wednesday or Thursday you'll get it. Craig, hello. Jake, how are ya? Jake, I still got my little piece right here in my drawer. I have an answer, but do you want me to show it? Yes, my question of the day, if it's starred, so it should be on the top, is how many different apple varieties are there? And I want you to guess. You and your trees. That's right. Because we are talking about making your own apple trees. Can you grow apples where it doesn't freeze? Yes, there's actually about 4 different varieties that I'm aware of that you can grow here in Yuma, Arizona, which it doesn't freeze here. They're very low chill hours, and there is a chemical you can spray onto your apple trees to put them in dormancy and then take them out of dormancy, so it kind of bakes them out. And hello, good evening. And Charmaine says thanks. I mailed her package, Dana and Andrew Frank's package, and Steph's package. Oh, guessing 7,500. Now, if you Google it without doing a lot of research, it'll show 7,000, 7,500. That's not right. So you guys are going to have to guess higher than that. Jake is saying hi to Anne. And the Bunky girl is here. Now, Bunky and her sisters are on an hour from now, so you can hop on over. Anna's guessing 20. Anne, think big. Think really, really big. Cheryl is in here. So lots of people just popping in. So I have been grafting apples last night, making my own apple trees. And that's something we're going to talk about today because it's not just apples. You could do pears and you could do all kinds of stone fruits, peaches, nectarines, just plums, anything you can imagine you can graft. A tree that I am looking for to plant in my yard in Wyoming this year is a quince. And does anybody here have a quince that you're growing in your yard or you have before? Because nobody I know has one. But I want one. So I'm going to order one. And I could order a scion and a rootstock, but they don't really want to send you just one. And I really only want 1 or 2 quince. And it's really interesting. It'll remind you of kind of a fuzzy pear. And you don't eat it raw. Oh, Cheryl's guessing. Oh, I didn't pop up there. Cheryl's guessing 1,543. Teresa guessed 150,000. No, not quite that many. But apples originated, they believe, in Kazakhstan. There are forests of apple trees. And they think, people go out on the Silk Road, took the seeds, took the plants, the trees, and it just went from there. Could be true, could not be true. I don't know. But it's an interesting thing. And apples can be grown. They fruit in the summertime too. Like I would be willing to grow an apple tree, a couple apple trees down here, but all of them that I've looked at, they would be ripe before we got down here, which would be good for my neighbors, but not for me. Craig is guessing 12,657 as of last Wednesday. Of course, as of last Wednesday. Oh, BP. Sorry, I wanted to say BT because my daughter-in-law is BT. Your grandmother raised quince. See, I want to grow one. They're a fascinating tree, and I like it the fact that you do not eat them raw. So they're yellow, right? But when you cook them, they cook down like applesauce, and they're red. And so I would like to try it. Jake says 86,742. I like it that he dreams big. That's what a lot of people have told me, that they've online people that I've talked to make jam out of quince, and they can grow in a zone 4, and I'm a zone 4B. Some parts of my yard is a 5 just because of the way I have things. You know, you always have those microclimates in your yard. So there's one, the one you should have planted already. That's right. When's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the next best time? Today. And I believe that. So I will share with you how many apple trees that we know of for sure. Now, if you just Google it, most articles will tell you 7,000, 7,500, and it just seems that that sentence is repeated verbatim if you go through the different articles. Somebody just copied and pasted, and that's what they say. At least some of the universities will say at least 7,500, but that's not true. There is, I guess you would call them an encyclopedia of apples. It's a 7-volume set. I have one. I bought one. Each book is probably 1.5 inches thick, easily. And Dan Buzzy, I think how he pronounces his last name, worked for like 30 years doing this volumes, this encyclopedia of apples. And it's called The Illustrated History of Apples in North America. Now, in North America, some of the apples that, and he only did ones that he could actually verify, right? Which I really like that. And so in this 7-volume set of apples in North America, there are 17,000 different apples. In the state of Maine alone, at one time, not that long ago, 100 years ago, they had over 1,000 different varieties of apples that they grew a lot of. And even today, they probably have about 700-800 different varieties that people grow in just the state of Maine. And I just find that fabulous. Swarmstead Bees and Gardening. Hello, hello. How are ya? And Christina's in here too. And Carol's in here. If I missed anybody, just say something else in the comments so that I can say hi to you. And so I bought this volume. I wanted it for a really long time, but it's really spendy. And I got it one time for Christmas. And oh my gosh. But really, so around the world, they estimate about 30,000 different types of apple trees. Now that goes from the very tiniest crab apples all the way to great big honkin' apples that weigh 2 pounds. And so that is just so crazy and fun. And Angie's here. Hey, Angie, how are you? And so it just like blows your mind, especially worldwide at grocery stores. There's probably 30 varieties worldwide that you could buy at a store. In the United States, you would be lucky to find 12 in a large grocery store. And it's like, we are missing out on so many apples. Why is this happening? You know, it's just crazy. Then, now you can have apples that are dwarf apples. You know, they're never going to get taller than, say, 5 or 6 feet. Then there's semi standard, which in Wyoming would get about 15 to 18 feet high. And then standards that can get a lot bigger, 25 feet tall. Unless you prune them, of course, which that's what I do. None of my apple trees ever are going to get more than 12 feet tall because I don't want to have to get on a great big huge ladder. I would rather prune them and have them bush out wider than I would taller. It's just a safety thing for me. Plus, I can make ones that are never going to be more than 2 or 3 feet tall. I can even do my step over apples that are never going to get more than 12 inches tall. So you have the apple trunk that comes out, you let 2 branches go this way, and you just let it go around flower beds, pathways. And so when they get old enough, you have these branches, these single branches, apple, 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 and they're called step overs because you can step over them. And so I find that kind of fun. Well, hello, young lady. How are you? I haven't seen you for a while. I know. Haven't chatted with you in so long. That is so fun that you are here. Yay. Make sure you do pruning videos this summer. Actually, I will do some pruning videos when I get back when it's still cold. And then there's 2 different times to prune apples. When they're dormant, before they start to bud out. That does one thing. And then if you prune them in the summer, it does another thing. It has different hormones that are going through the apple tree. And one is for thinning and the other one, basically, you get to shape it, you get to do stuff, but we'll talk about that in videos. But yesterday, I made 41 apple trees. And what you might say, what do you mean you made 41 apple trees? I bought rootstock. This time, the rootstock that I bought is called M111. So MM111 is actually what it's called. It is a stock that will have your apple tree be about 15 to 18 feet tall. And then when I prune it, it's never going to go over 12 feet. So that is kind of fun. And you are so sweet. Thank you so much. And so they're in 5-gallon buckets, right? A whole bunch of them in one 5-gallon bucket. So here is one of the roots. I don't want to get stuff all over my computer. And then, so this is the rootstock right here. And then down here, do you see how this is fat and this is thinner? Right in here is where I grafted it together. And I'm going to have a video out this week on exactly how to cut that so that you can hook it together. Now, this is much thinner than this. I like to try to get them the same, but that's not theoretically, it doesn't happen very often. And this apple is called Lady. I'm actually growing another one at home that's called Lady. It hasn't fruited for me yet, but that's kind of fun. And so what I do is when I put the graft together, then I use this clear tape, and this is pretty thick. Some of the other tape I have, let me put this up here and I'll show you, because there's different kinds of tape that you can use. And so when I was grafting, I used this one. See the difference? But it's very stretchy. So you can get that really, so see this? And look, you just keep stretching and stretching and stretching. And so that way you can go around where the graft is and get it really, really tight. Then the next thing I do is I take these, you know, when you're at the doctor's office and they're taking your blood, and they wrap your arm with one of these. This is actually cut lengthwise in half. Then I wrap that around the graft. And this will stay on there for, well, actually until I get home to Wyoming. When I I get home, I have a couple options. I can either put on, this is a grafting compound. Oh, it's invisible. That's nice. It's called Tree Wound. You can do it for when you're pruning if you need to seal it, though I rarely seal my cuts. But it's also a grafting compound that you can put around that to just help it heal. The other thing you can do, let me put this down, is use beeswax. And if you mix 1 part of beeswax and 2 parts of oil, like vegetable oil, avocado oil, and you melt that beeswax in there, you can take a paintbrush and you can go around where the graft is, and it just seals it up. The buds will actually break through both this and the beeswax eventually if it has a bud that goes through there. So that's kind of just interesting. And in the video that comes out this week, I talk about more of it. But you can get it that it's green. Oh, I haven't even opened this one. There. And you can stretch that around there. Some people use floral tape. Some people use electrical tape. Just whatever you want to. Oh, and thanks for doing that. And typed channel. And then Nightbot does her channel. I like it that it does that. But that's just something to think about. Now, what kind of tools do you need? Well, you need your rootstock. And depending on what you want, I mean, I have plenty of rootstocks that are regular standard that would make a 25-foot tree if I let it, but I'm not going to. Hi, Hope. How are you? Love the green screen. Haven't been on for a while. Hoping you're doing well. Thank you very much. I am much better. Thank you. And this is just my front yard back in Wyoming in the summertime. And you can see apple trees here, apple trees here. This one right here actually is one of my favorite apples. And it makes really big apples. And for the longest time, they were only green, you know. It would be fall, they'd be falling off, and they were green. But this year, they actually had red stripes on them. And so I thought, well, that is interesting. But we had a really late fall, you know, before it got cold. And it just changed into the striped. I mean, it still had the green on it, but it had some red stripes on it. So that was really cool. And, oh, thanks, Bunky. Bunky typed that, so then it types this. But Bunky, if you type channel, it will do your channel. So I got some more scions today in the mail. Now these came from PA, from Pennsylvania. Greg Jones sent them to me, and these are what you call yellow transparent apples. And he had a bunch of extra ones, and he said, if anybody pays the shipping, I will send you some. And so I'm going to graft these later tonight. And let me show you what I've been doing so far. My daughter tried to comment to bring a uplink for Liam's channel. It didn't work. Liam has to be on the chat. And then you type channel and it will pop up. Okay, so, but let me show you what I did last night. These are ones that I have done. These 2 buckets. And these ones that are just the rootstock. I haven't grafted onto these now. Some of them will just go home with us and they won't have a scion on them yet. Other ones will have some scions. So that is just what I did last night. I did 41 of them. My friend Larry Stevenson, he has Southern Culture Nursery, and he grows a lot of different apples in the South. And a lot of those apples can grow in the North too, because depending on your rootstock, even an apple that may not been hardy regularly, if you have a really hardy cold weather rootstock, a lot of times you can get that to survive in the North. And so he sent me a whole bunch of them, and I was expecting like 15, and he sent me 41 scions. And then today I got, he must have 10 in there. Now, will I use the whole amount? I can, or I could cut them in half and it would give me 20, but I don't really need 20 yellow transparent apples. But yellow transparent apples, the skin is very translucent, though it's yellow, and it's a beautiful, beautiful apple. Well, hello, young man. How are you? I haven't seen you for a while. I hope you and your wife are doing good and the land is just being fabulous for you. So lots of old friends are in tonight. That is so fun. Now, I was hoping that Steph would stop in, but she hasn't. Now, other things I use. I have some grafting tools. I use my pruners. I use my knife. Just, people, when they're grafting, there's grafting tools, which I thought I brought my grafting tool down here, where all you do is, it's like this little gun thing, and you just squeeze it and it cuts the different notches that you want. But obviously I didn't, so I had to do it all by hand last night, which was totally fun, and it was good practice for me. And so when I get home, they'll come out of the 5-gallon buckets, because they're just going to all stay in these 5-gallon buckets until I get home. I'll repot them in great big pots with some good compost and some soil, and I'm going to line them up next to my greenhouse, and all summer long they are just going to grow in those pots. The greenhouse will block all the north wind, and it will really give those apple trees a good start. And so I'm totally excited about that. And in fact, some of my rootstock, I'm not going to graft it all this year. There's a process that you can do to make your own rootstock. And so some of them I'm going to do that, but I'll do a video this summer about doing that. And so it's just fun. Now look at this. Now this is the stretchy, that's the thick one. See how it can just keep stretching and stretching and stretching? That way you can just get such a tight seal when you do that grafting. Now, all of the ones that I did yesterday that I showed you in those buckets, I did, it's a tongue and groove graft. There's a lot of different grafts that you can do. Does it help to cut a V-notch or cut flat when you're grafting? Well, a V-notch is good, because I have done that lots and lots of times. It's really pretty easy. It's like a bench graft, really. And especially if you're topping a tree, say you have a big tree and it's just like out of control. And so you're taking it the next few years and you're just cutting the top off, because you should never really cut more than about a fourth to a third of the tree ever in a year. But sometimes trees get broken. Stuff happens. You have a windstorm or a snowstorm that comes through and it just breaks off that top. So sometimes you have that central leader and it can be 2, 3, 4, 5 inches across. And so you can do some bench cuts, grafting cuts that you can add little parts in there. So that is really interesting. And so, I have done V-cuts lots of times. Craig says, if you need more buckets, let me know. I can grab you some. I'd like some buckets this summer, actually, Craig. So when I come over to South Dakota, I will take you up on that. Try, if you type channel instead of comment, it will bring up your channel. Okay. Briggs of Rod, SMTV. Interesting. I like it when new people pop in. So, but on an actual apple tree, you don't have to just have one apple. Like sometimes you'll say, oh, what kind of apple is that? And so it'll be Red Delicious or Gala or Honeycrisp or one of the common ones, right? But there's nothing that says that you can't graft multiple types of apples on one tree. And I have that. But a friend of mine, Steve, that lives in California, he has a tree that he calls a Frankenstein tree. And it has more than 100 different types of apples on one tree. My brother Jim in South Dakota, I think he's probably up to 30 or so different types of apple on one of his apple trees. So it's just like so fun. It's just like craziness. And it, especially if you're limited with space. Now, different apple trees need pollinators. Some apple trees that you buy, it'll say that self-fertile, you don't need another apple tree. Well, that is true to a point. But if you want more apples on that tree, you need another apple tree. Or you need a neighbor that has an apple tree or a neighbor who has a crab tree. Because a crab tree is spectacular in helping you pollinate your apple trees. Because like an apple tree, an apple that is a triploid, is actually really sterile. The pollen is sterile, so it can't pollinate a different apple tree. But it can take pollen from other apple trees. And so you just have to know what kind of apple you have when you go to buy it. And Nancy is here. Yeah, there's a lot of different, Costco, Home Depot will sell ones that have like 3 different kinds of apples. I've seen them in magazines that have 5 different kinds of apples. Now, it can have apples, but it has to have all apples. Now, if it had plums, that is a stone fruit. Now, that's a whole different thing because you could have apricots, you could have plums, you could have peaches, you could have nectarines all on the same tree. The other thing to look at when you're going to graft an apple tree, you're going to plant it in your yard, when is that tree going to flower? So you have to know some information about the apple that you're buying. I would always like people to do a little research before they buy an apple tree. And if you can buy an apple tree locally versus one that just gets shipped into a box store, your success rate is much better. Because every single one of those trees that you're buying have been grafted. And one of the things you have to realize that it used to be that they would only do the graft that's right on the trunk. So like this right here, that's the graft. And it used to be, they used to graft them way down here by the roots. But people that graft themselves rarely do that anymore. The reason is if this fails up here, you still have all of this trunk that you can graft something else on. You can, say, I don't know, something snapped it off, a bird landed, it wasn't grafted very good, it snapped off. Well, you still have all this space that you can cut this off and you can graft again. And so that is just something to keep in mind when you're grafting yourself, because when you get the rootstock, it's usually a foot and a half tall anyway. The other thing, once it's established, you could do some bud grafts down here and have different apples too. In fact, I could do that right now. If I wanted to take some of the buds off my scions, I could literally graft them down here and have different apple trees coming out right away. But I want all that energy to go into this part right here, the scion. Now, the scions that I got in the mail, oh, you're there. Today, I want to show you the difference. Okay, so let me open that up again. Look at how big that scion is. One of the things to remember, your buds always have to go up. If you graft it upside down, it won't take. The buds have to go up. Okay, and the way you see that, let me see if I can get that really close. See how that points up? It's like a little triangle that points up. That's how you have to graft it. But look at the difference in the side. This one is basically the same size as my rootstock. So that's a great one to graft. When you're grafting something smaller, you have to put it to the side because the cambium layer has to match the cambium layer on the rootstock. And that's how it heals itself, and that's the way it grows, because the energy, the nutrients, the water comes up through the cambium layer. And so that's just something you have to do. And these ones don't have wax on them. When I get mine from Larry, they always have wax on both sides, which seals the moisture in there. So what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to cut them when I get off with you guys, and I'm going to soak them in water for a little while. And that way it will bring some nutrients up there, and it will help. See, there is your channel. Awesome. And so that's just something to remember when you're grafting. Now, usually one of these scions, about this size, will cost you anywhere from, sometimes if you're lucky, $3.50 all the way up to $6. But there is a lot of buds on this. See all these buds along here? And so I could literally, it'd be really safe to just cut it in half, but I could probably get 3 out of this. Sometimes the buds are closer together, and you can even cut it into 4, but I like having a long one. So I don't usually cut them off unless it's a really rare scion, and then I will. But these are definitely worth, it cost me, I think the shipping was $8. And so I sent that off to him. And I do love yellow transparent apples. They're just wonderful. Oh, good. Liam is on. So Liam, just leave it 1 second, because Bunky just did hers, and Nightbot should pop it up. Sometimes if you do it too fast, it will wait. You have to wait a second. So Liam, you might have to say, and you don't want to say comment, you want to say channel. And then Liam, it will pop up your channel. Now everybody should belong to Liam's Toy Time. He's this young man, and he's got a great little channel. And so check him out. Check out all the people that have channels that are in the chat today. Side note, you guys know that I'm not just a gardener. I'm an artist too. And so I found a company that will do playing cards, right? But they'll put one of your paintings on the playing card. So they came in the mail today. So this, green screen makes part of it disappear. But this is a watercolor of a tiger mama and some of her cubs. And so those came in the mail today. I was so excited that my cards are here. These cards are marked. The green screen makes everything green disappear. It's just so funny. But I'm totally excited. I'm never using these. I like to collect playing cards. I have lots of them. Like when we go different states, I like to get a deck of playing cards that have something to do with that state. But I was totally excited about that. And there's Liam's. Yes. Yep, Liam is just grown and grown with his little channel. And I love it when young people, like Bunky is in here, and she's a young gal, and she teaches about gardening and her emus and all this stuff. And so I'm just always so excited when young people step out of a comfort zone and have their own channel. It's just really pretty exciting, and thanks so much. It was fun, and you can just download any painting that you have. I suppose you could have pictures of your kids, but I took one of my paintings, but I think you'd probably do pictures of your kids, and it would just be awesome. And I thought, well, they're kind of spendy though. I have to find a different company that actually, I think this cost me $11 plus shipping. It's kind of spendy for a deck of cards, but Oh, Joey says, my family is a big card player. That's a great gift idea. I could take pictures of our farm, put them on cards, and give them as gifts. See, I thought that too, And I also thought that, if I had new paintings that I was in a show and I had new paintings, it would be fun to have playing cards. You can always make cards that, people buy that are like birthday cards. But playing cards is something you don't see very often. But great Christmas ideas. I got this from Zazzle, but I'm sure there are other companies that will do that. And Julie, you're right. For a gift, that's not a lot of money, you know. Um, oh my gosh, I could do my logo. That's right. Yeah. It was, I think it was about $11 plus shipping. And probably if I bought more, it was probably cheaper, you know, because a lot of those companies, it does get cheaper the more you buy. But I was just so excited when they came in the mail. And I was hoping, I said this before, I was hoping that Steph was going to pop in tonight because I got a box from her. And that was just so sweet. And I wanted to thank her for that. The other thing I got in the mail today, this, it is, now Ryan has, I don't want to say this wrong, Heavenly Hills Homestead, and it's a YouTube channel. Anyway, he grows giant everything, like giant pumpkins, giant, all kinds of different vegetables. And he sent me giant pumpkin seeds. And so I gave a package to my sister who was going back to Wyoming today. She had been down to visit her and her husband, but I wouldn't give her this one. And then she just gave me such a bad time. This is called 665 Cork, or nope, 665 Cook, I think it is. And it says the prettiest pumpkin in the world. And so I told her, sorry, you can't have this one. I'm growing this one. If it has seeds, if I get it big and it has seeds, I'll give you some. But it only has a couple seeds in there. And I just thought, oh my gosh, so fun. But there's different ones that he sent. Like one says very, very orange. Will be very orange. This one just says who it's from, and it has the cross-pollination. So one parent was the mother of it. The other parent was the female, and they cross-pollinated it. So those seeds had the traits of these other ones. And so I was totally excited about getting that. And says you're going to have some giant veggies. I think I'm going to give a couple of packages away when it gets to be in April, because it's a great time to start your pumpkin seeds and then plant them out in May. So I think I'm going to do that. So it's exciting. Oh, Charmaine, thank you so much. I know. Isn't it exciting? But really, you could put your logo for your YouTube channel, and you could do it as giveaways or to people that were members, been members a long time. I just think you could do a lot of things with those playing cards. And so I just thought it was exciting. But you guys, I'm going to have to let you go. I'm way past my time because I like a half hour. Now, remember, in 20 minutes, the Vineyard Chicks are on. And Bunky, who has been in here tonight, she is one of the Vineyard Chicks. The girls, all three of them are the Vineyard Chicks, but each one of them has their own YouTube channel too. And so, oh, see, there's Bunky. So make sure you check out Bunky. And she's the youngest of the three girls. And I tell you, Bunky is a hoot. You will love her. Seriously love her. Cinderella pumpkin. See, I'm growing some Cinderella pumpkins right now with my giant pumpkin out in my front yard. And so we'll see how they do. It has been cold here in Arizona, but no more. This week is all 70s and 80s. And so those things should just woo. Bunky says, oops, stepped on the keyboard. But everybody, I'm going to let you go because I have to soak some scions. And later on tonight, I am going to graft them. But in the meantime, I have to plant some garlic. I have it soaking since yesterday. And, oh, Tina Ladybug is in. Tina, hello. How are ya? It was great seeing you, Joey. And so I am going to let you go. Everybody, thank you so much for popping in. And have a great night. And look forward to this week when I do actual grafting on the video. And you'll find out later on when they get all rooted and sealed. I'm actually going to give one of those apple trees away, and I'll just ship it to wherever you are in the United States. So that should be fun. Hope. See you next week. I also have Late Night with Nana this Friday night and some videos during the week. Bye, everybody. See you next time.